If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right, hey, guess what? Good evening. My name is Mark Benschop. We are going to rock and roll for 1 hour. That's how we do it here. 1 hour. We give you guys an opportunity to share the link. And if you are on YouTube, share that link as well and ask the folks then to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, we have two interesting guests this evening. They are attorneys, and so I've got to be on my P's and my Q's because they are attorneys at law. And even my English and everything have to be on par this evening with these lawyers, because you know how these lawyers are. Mr. Daniels, no stranger to you guys, Ronald Daniels. He has been on this show before, maybe sometime last year or whenever, but he's no stranger to you guys. His colleague, his law partner, she's also on with us, Miss Kiswana Jefford. You know, it's a serious program this evening. I am basically tempted to ask her about the origin of her name, Kiswana, but I probably refrain from doing that, at least not this evening. Before we get started, though, I want to get into some stuff. Our guests, they are in the background. Our operator, who has been promoted recently to assistant producer of the show, he has indicated to me, that is Lemon, he has indicated to me that our guests are actually in the background. They're in the studio. And here I am. Good evening to all of you. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. What is it? Today happens to be International Teachers Day, right? If you're a teacher, I want to salute all of you, every single one of you. I know, especially in Guyana, teachers, you guys have it really, really rough. It's about time that people stop playing politics with the teachers. Stop the politics, stop the nonsense, stop using teachers. Just give them a pay. Give them a pay increase because they are important. But yet what we're seeing is that they are not paying the teachers properly. They're playing politics with the teachers, discriminating against the teachers. But when you go, let us say, to the cane harvesters, and now don't get me wrong, cane cutters are hardworking people as well. But look at what they're doing to them. $250,000 to the sugar workers. But the teachers who don't get time off, hardly get time off, look at what they're getting from this installed regime. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's a disgrace. It's a shame and a disgrace. What else happening before we get into our program? I was told that our guest, attorney at law, Daniels, is Mr. Daniels, that is. He is putting on his studio makeup, and so we have to wait for him maybe another minute or so. But they are with us. They are with us. They met. Let us have our operator take that off. Thank you, Lemon. They have met with the guy. Yes, this young man. Here he is. He's accused. He's being accused of what? Setting the, what is it, Breakdown police station in the cell. They're claiming that he's the one that set the fire. They're claiming that he's the one that confessed. That's the police. That's the story they want you guys to believe. But guess what happened today? Once you share the link, I'll talk the story. Guess what happened today? These two young lawyers, young, talented lawyers, and hardworking lawyers, spent almost 4 hours at the police station where he's being kept. And the suspect's name is Clarence Green, also known as Akeem. These young lawyers out of Hughes, Fields, and Stobie law firm, they met today for almost 4 hours with the suspect. And I tell you what, they have a lot to say. They have a lot to talk because I have a lot of questions for them. We want to know, and of course, they can't reveal every single thing, but you'll be able to read between the lines. They are with us this evening. I don't want to hesitate. I want to bring them almost immediately. But before we get to that, here, this guy, the fire chief, is almost fired. He's been sent on leave. He's not sure when he's going to return. And we can read between the lines that there is a high possibility that this guy, his name is Udu or Edu or whatever, but I mean, this is no disrespect to his name, right? Udu, Edu. He's been sent on leave. He's not sure whether he's going to return. And this is the guy who prevented a lot of junior ranks from being promoted. Look what happened to him. Oh, look what happened to him. You guys who like him can cry. And those of you who probably are against his leadership style can probably laugh. But guess what? 12 minutes after, we've got to bring our guest on. We've got to bring them on. Here they are, attorneys at law. I'll introduce Miss Kiswana Jefford and Mr. Ronald Daniels. Good evening to you both. How are you this evening?
Very good evening to you, Mark. Thanks ever so much for the kind invitation. And thanks to your guests for tuning in. I'm very good this evening, thanks.
Yeah, we're glad that you guys are very good. We see that people already here how Guyanese are. Here how Guyanese are. I will get straight to this point. I haven't yet introduced the young lady, the young lawyer, and they have already started. They have already started. Oh, she's cute. Oh, Guyanese, huh? But I'm not going to say anything about that. This is a very serious show. But attorney at law, Kiswana, good evening and welcome. This is your first time. Your first time on, sorry about that. Yeah, your first time on 107.1 FM. Your first time on Straight Up. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mark. Thank you for having me. And yes, that's correct. This is my first time.
And thank you guys for being here. Before we get into that, quickly, all of our viewers, all of them, want a little background as to Jefford, the lawyer, Kiswana Jefford, the lawyer. Give us a little background of yourself, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So my name is Kiswana Jefford. It's an African name, by the way, Mark. It means blessed. Actually, I was born prematurely, so I guess my mom chose that name, to signify, yes, my existence. I'm a new attorney here at Hughes, Fields, and Stobie. I practice in several areas, particularly civil law, commercial law, criminal law, labor law, employment law. Well, I wanted to be an attorney because I like to be a voice for the voiceless and I like to see persons get justice. Anything else you would like to know?
Thank you so much. I like this part where you said that you want to be an attorney, and you are an attorney now because you like to stand up and fight for the voiceless, those who do not have a voice at all or any sort of proper representations. And that is what I must admit that I like what I'm hearing already. But whereabouts in Guyana are you from?
Where in Guyana I'm from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Originally.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I grew up in Georgetown. However, my father, that is originally from Berbice. and my mom is from Georgetown as well.
All right, good. Thank you so much. I thought you were related to some Jeffords from Linden and wherever. I don't know. A lot of things. Yeah.
I am
Sorry about that. You are what? Sorry?
I am actually related to him. He's from Berbice originally, and then he moved to Linden.
I got you. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to have you on our program for the first time. We know that you wouldn't be a stranger. Let's go to my good friend, Mr. Ronald Daniels. Before we get into the meat of this, I just want to remind a lot of you out there that this young man that you see there sitting, he's a lawyer today. But many years ago, in order to be sitting where he is today, he made lots and lots of sacrifices. Guess what sort of work he used to do? He was a minibus conductor. Good evening. How are you doing, Mr. Daniels?
Mark, good evening again. I'm very well, thanks.
And I say minibus conductor to say that you can do any job in pursuit of your dream, your actual dream job. Why you wanted to become a lawyer, Mr. Daniels?
Well, I can't say that I've grown up having a passion to become a lawyer. I guess I have become a lawyer because, as the saying goes, a man oftentimes gets his destiny on the very road that he takes to avoid it. And I've taken many roads to avoid becoming a lawyer. Actually, I distinctly said in the past that I did not want to become a lawyer. But I'm here, and I'm happy that I've made the decision to become a lawyer because it gives me an opportunity to serve. And if anything I'm passionate about is service.
And we have been watching, we have been following you. You have been doing just a lot of that. Very passionate about human rights and so forth and so on. Thank you so much. But let's get to the big story, the really, really big story. And let us remind our listeners that this young man, Mr. Clarence Green, also known as Akeem, is accused of burning down or at least 90% of the Brigham police station. We were told by the police that this young man confessed to the crime. We were told in details by the police how he did this job. That's according to the police. According to the police. Now, both of you attorneys met with your client today for approximately maybe 4 hours. What was that meeting like? Let's begin with Mr. Daniels or whoever. Go ahead.
Good. So we'll commence by having Ms. Jefford give a brief synopsis as to how Mr. Green came to be in custody to begin with. And then we'll walk you through how Mr. Green found himself in this mess that we're here to discuss.
Sure.
Over to Ms. Jefford.
Hi, good evening once again. Today, myself and Ronald visited Mr. Green at the Sparendam police station. Mr. Green indicated that he was picked up on an allegation of simple larceny on Saturday, the 2nd of October, 2021. He indicated that he was subsequently taken to the Brigham police station after he was picked up, whereby a search was conducted on his person. No items capable of causing a fire was found on Mr. Green when that search was conducted. And I'll now hand you over to Mr. Daniels to continue.
So after Mr. Green was processed and searched, he instructed us that he was taken to cell number 4 in the breakdown lockups. And he knew that it was cell number 4 because the doors of the cells carried the numbers on them. And he said over on the half that he was on, there was, I think, another 3 cells. And he was put in cell number 4 by himself. And he said that when he was put into cell number 4, there was half of a mattress in the cell. And he indicated to the police officer who took him to the cell that he would have difficulties sleeping on the half of the mattress because he has steel in his body that he got from an accident that he had before. And he said the mattress was brought into the cell, but the half of the mattress was left there as well. And he said about an hour after being taken to the station, he started smelling smoke. And he raised an alarm, calling out to the police officers. And he said none of the police responded. And he alerted the prisoners who were in the cell next to him that he was smelling smoke. So the prisoners joined him in raising the alarm, but none of the police came upstairs. He said a while after, one of the police, he think, came upstairs and allowed one of the guys from the other side of the cell block, not on his side, to use the washroom. And he dozed off sometime during the course of that event. And he said a while after, he was woken up by water being thrown on him, and he discovered it was the guy who was let out to use the washroom, somebody that he's familiar with. And he said the guy alerted him that smoke was coming into the cell that he was in. So he said that they raised an alarm again, and the guy went downstairs and alerted the police. And the police came upstairs and immediately opened his cell, because that is where the smoke seemed to be concentrated. And he said he immediately darted out of the cell. He rushed to the washroom area. He took off the vest that he was wearing, the same vest that he had on when we went to see him. And he said he plugged the water escape route in the bathroom with his vest, and he turned the pipe on so the bathroom could start filling. And he took a bucket from the bathroom and he filled it with water, and he ran back to the cell and he threw it. So he said he kept doing this back and forth while the police officers stood by the entrance to his cell, as well as the guy who woke him up by throwing water on his face. And he said that another police came upstairs and started opening the other cells so that the other prisoners in the other cells could make good their escape from the fire that seemed to be progressing then. And they said the officer who let him out of the cell eventually told him to stop throwing the water, and they took all of them downstairs. When they took them downstairs, they took them over into the police reception area, and they were checked again. They were searched. He, as well as the other prisoners, were thoroughly searched. He said nothing was found on him. Nothing capable of starting a fire was found on him. After the blaze grew and they started threatening the reception area, they were taken to another building in the compound. And when they were taken to that building, they were again searched, including him. And he said again, nothing capable of starting a fire was found on him. He said that they were subsequently taken to the school. I take it for granted that the school he was referring to was St. Stanislaus College. And when they got there, he was searched again along with the other prisoners. And again, no implements capable of starting a fire was found on his person.
Absolutely nothing. For those who are now joining us, the attorneys representing this young man accused of burning down the Brickdam police station. He has since hours ago spoke with his lawyer. He has said, no, that is not true. Let me ask both of you this question. In terms of this confession statement, according to the police, they're claiming that they have your client on video admitting to this crime. What's the story behind that? What your client has to say about this?
Good. So we think it's important that the public has a sense of the chronology of events leading to this so-called confession statement. So I'll have Ms. Jeffrey narrate what transpired from St. Stanislaus College to when he was taken to Sparendam Police Station.
Hello again. So Mr. Green would have indicated that after he was taken from the St. Stanislaus College to to Sparendam Police Station, which is a station that myself and Ronald visited him at today, he gave a statement to the police and he maintained his innocence. That is, that he did not know what caused the fire. And he would have emphasized the same story that he told us today. He indicated that after that statement, he was placed in a cell and he was taken to CID Ivlery headquarters on Sunday. He said that there was an interview that he conducted with the police and certain allegations were put to him. He maintained his innocence and again, he denied the allegations that he was the one that caused the fire at the Brickdam Police Station on Saturday, the 2nd day of October 2021. Ronald could highlight more on what transpired after that.
Certainly. So, as Keswan has indicated, Mr. Green and the collection of other prisoners, he said about 17 in number, were taken from the breakdown police, was taken from the school, and we suppose that it's in Stanislaus College he was referring to the Sparendam Police Station. And when he was taken to the Sparendam Police Station, one of the officers who took them to the Sparendam Police Station, he said there were 4 officers who accompanied them on that journey, and himself and the other prisoners were talking in the bus as to, how the fire started, what transpired, and so forth. And one of the young men who was in the cell next to him, he said the young man indicated that before Mr. Green was taken into custody, he was smelling smoke while he was in the cell next to the cell that eventually Mr. Green was put into. And he said when he was smelling smoke, he raised an alarm, calling out to the police officers, and nobody responded. And so after Mr. Green got to Sparendam Police Station, he said one of the officers told him that he would have to give a statement. Clearing himself because he raised an alarm saying that he was smelling smoke and so forth. And he said he recounted his story to the officer who told him that. He was then taken into the cell at the Sparendam Police Station, and he said on the following day, that's the Sunday, a collection of officers, a CID ranks from Breakdown Police Station as well as CID ranks from Ivlery Police Station, visited Sparendam Police Station, where they conducted interviews with all of the prisoners who were taken from Breakdown Police Station to Sparendam Police Station. And he said during the interview, he narrated the story that he dictated to us, and he maintained that he knew nothing about how the fire started or anything of the sort. And he said that statement was read over to him, capturing exactly what is it he said. And he signed that statement because the statement as read to him was a true reflection of what he narrated to the police. He said later in the evening he was taken to Ivlery CID headquarters, and he was taken into a room with identifiable senior police officers. And while in that room, he was asked to recount what transpired, and he maintained his narrative, which he insists is true and correct. And he said one of the senior officers was hitting a button in his desk in a threatening manner, telling him that he was telling lies and insisting that he tells the truth. He said he maintained that what he said to the officers was the truth, and they told him that they are going to confront him with somebody who was there with him. And he said they brought in the same fellow who was in the cell next to him, who earlier said on the bus that they were being transported and that he smelled smoke before Mr. Green was taken to the station, and he raised an alarm, and the police did not respond. He said that fellow was brought into the room, and that fellow recounted a story saying that while they were on the bus, he said that he started the fire. So he said when the fellow was brought into the room, the police officers told him that he must shut up. They don't want to hear anything else from him because he was telling lies. And when the fellow finished narrating his story, he said he spoke directly to the senior officer who was tapping the baton in the desk, telling him that he knows nothing about the narrative the other fellow was recounting. He repeated that the other fellow did say on the bus that he smelled smoke even before he, Mr. Green, was taken to Breakdown Police Station, and that he raised an alarm and nobody responded. And he said he insisted that there were about 17 of them on the bus, along with 4 police officers. And if he were in fact to make those utterances, then the other inmates and the officers would have had the benefit of those utterances. So he vehemently denied having made those utterances, and he indicated to the police that they can visit the cells if they wish, have a look at the layout of the cell, and they would appreciate that he could not have done what he was accused of doing. And they eventually took the fellow out of the room, took him back to the holding cell at CID headquarters, Ivlery, and he was subsequently taken into a room where a video interview was conducted. So we'll pause there to accommodate any other questions you have before we share the details of the video interview as per our instructions.
Thank you so much, Attorney Daniels and Jefford. The question concerning the baton and being threatened and so forth, did he reveal to you guys any sort of violence, any sort of physical violence? Does he have any injury or whatever?
Well, at that stage, there was no physical force used against him, but naturally he was fearful because he said the officer was conducting himself in a manner that he interpreted to be threatening to him. We don't get the impression that his motive is to cast any aspersions on the character or conduct of the police officers.
I got you. So, because last evening I spoke with a couple of folks who were in the Breakdown lockups, and their 72 hours expired. They're out. I think they are going along with exactly what is being said here now. But why did he actually sign that confession statement? You're saying that because he was threatened?
The statement that he was, the other statement he was confronted with, or that was during the course of the video interview, but I'll invite Ms. Jefford to perhaps comment on that.
So as Ronald indicated, there were 2 interviews conducted with Mr. Green. The first one was whereby the allegation was put to him about setting the Breakdown police station on fire. And then the guy that Ronald alluded to earlier on was brought in subsequent to that allegation being put to Mr. Green. After that, there was a video recording, well, a video interview that was conducted right at the CID headquarters with Mr. Green. And it was during that interview or during that video recording that Mr. Green has alleged that he was fearful and he was threatened, and because of that, he would have signed or confessed to certain things. Ronald, could I expand upon that?
Yeah, I just want to quickly, attorneys, that what about the capacity that he has to read, or his comprehension level, his skills? Can he read? Can he write properly?
Good. So, what Mr. Green has indicated to us is that his reading abilities are rather basic, and that is rather instructive, because he said when the video interview was conducted, there were 4 police officers in the room, and one of the officers in the room was one of the officers who was present when he had the earlier interview with the senior officers, when he was confronted by the gentleman who ascribed certain utterances to him. While in that room, he said he was asked certain questions, and when confronted by those questions on the video recording, he maintained his story, which he is adamant was true and correct. And he said one of the officers in the room was standing behind him on his left side, and the officer appeared to be deliberately attempting to be out of the scope of the camera's lens. And he said the officer started hitting him on his left side shoulder with a baton in the room where the video interview was being conducted, and telling him that he was lying and urging him to adopt a different narrative. He said he maintained his story. The video recording eventually stopped. The officer who was conducting the interview, the video recorded interview, was asking him the questions, presented to him a paper, and instructed him to sign the paper. And he told the officer, he requested of the officer that he reads the contents of the paper, because he said the writings were in cursive, and it posed a particular difficulty for him to recognize what was written there, and not as though the statement was even given to him to read. And he said the officer told him, make haste and sign. And having experienced the tapping on his shoulder, well, the hits on his shoulder, because he disclosed to us a bruise that he suffered on his shoulder as a result of being hit on his shoulder in the interview room, that's the video interview specifically. He said he felt compelled under those circumstances to sign that paper. He doesn't know what the contents of the paper are. And so that is the only uncertain document relative to its contents that he has given us instructions on.
All right, 38 minutes after 9 o'clock, attorneys at law from the law firm Hughes, Fields, and Stobie. We have both of them here, young attorneys, Daniels and Jefford. They're here, their client. They're talking about their client, Mr. Clarence Green, who's accused of burning down the Brigham police station. And according to the police, he gave them a confession statement, which Mr. Clarence Green, through his lawyer, he spoke to his lawyers today, and he's saying, no, he didn't do that. He never said that. In fact, he was threatened. He signed a document that they didn't read for him. He couldn't read it. He didn't understand what was in it. Some of you might be saying, well, why did he sign it? Well, come on. We all know why. Attorneys, your client went back. He was taken back to the Brigham police station lockups area. For what purpose? Did he say that to you guys?
He did. He said he was taken back so that they can walk him through the cell, and he can show them exactly where he was, where the smoke was coming in, and so that they can confirm as well that he could not have done the things that were attributed to him. And we all know what was attributed to him. And he said that when he was taken back to the breakdown police station lockups, the two senior officers and the other officer who was in the room with him when he had that initial confrontation with the fellow who was in the cell next to him were there at the breakdown police station. And he said someone whom you recognized to be a minister. He wasn't sure what's the name of the person who he recognized to be a minister, but he said the person was wearing a cream pants and a pink shirt, was there as well, and the person was with the crew on that walk through. And the excursion was video recorded by the police officers as well as some persons in civilian clothing. And he showed them the room that he was in. They had an inspection of the room, and he maintained his story as to what transpired. And he was adamant that he did not do what was attributed to him. And he said he did not know how the fire was started, and that he, of course, did not start the fire. And he said the same officer who was tapping the baton on the desk kept saying to him that he was telling lies, and kept insisting that he was telling lies. And he said that all of this transpired in the presence of the person whom he deemed to be one of the ministers. And while the camera, as far as he was concerned, was still rolling.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I want to ask this question. Did you guys ask him anything about these items, these weapons, wire, sponge, lighter, or anything?
I think what is instructive, and it's one of the reasons that we have recounted it as elaborately as we did, the searches that were conducted. Now, this is a man who was taken into custody after 3 in the morning, taken to Breakdown Police Station, processed, thoroughly searched, put into a cell by himself. When he was searched, of course, if the police had found any of these items on him, one would imagine that the police would have confiscated these items because they ought to be prohibited items. I'm not sure that the police would discover someone in possession of a lighter and allow that person to go into the cell with the lighter. And there is no indication or nothing to suggest that he had contact with the other prisoners, that he could have secured this lighter from one of the other prisoners. He was put into a cell, according to him, by himself. And he started smelling the smoke within an hour of getting there. And he raised an alarm. And I think it's instructive too that if he's to be believed, that he was the one that was leading the charge. Well, not just leading the charge, he seemed to have been singular in the charge to attempt to quell the fire that was coming into the cell that he was in. One would imagine that if this was somebody who started the fire, he might not have had such enthusiasm in quelling it.
You know, I've heard from 2 other persons who were locked up there, and that story sounds very familiar because they said that they are the ones who started to shout for the police officers to come into there to to find out exactly what's going on and where the smoke was coming from or whatever, something along that. So this story that you guys are talking about tonight that Mr. Green said is exactly what I heard from 2 other persons who were locked up with him, but they had to let go. The police had to let them go because the 72 hours expired. What's going on with your client and the allegations made against him that placed him in the lockups in the first place? Is 72 hours up?
So, as we indicated, initially Mr. Green was picked up for an allegation of simple larceny. However, after the fire started at the Bricktown police station, as we highlighted early on, he was subsequently charged for that. That offense, or the time from that charge, would run from the, it was around what time, Ronald?
Good. He was taken into custody around 3 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Yeah, 3 a.m. on Saturday.
Right. So the 72 hours for that would have expired. I'm not sure that he has. There's no indication that he has been charged as yet for that offense, and we're not sure if he is going to be charged for that
All
offense.
right. We just wanted our listeners to hear that part. If you're now joining us, 45 minutes after 9, we have attorneys at law, Ronald Daniels and Kiswana Jefford. They're representing Hughes, Fields, and Stobie law firm. Here's another question. When you guys met with your client today for a long period of time, according to a source, what was his state of mind like? Because that's being accused of burning down a police station. It's not just a simple thing at all. But what's his state of mind like?
Naturally, he is concerned. Naturally, he is shaken up by the enormity of the accusations leveled against him, and of course, the ripple effects that this is likely to have. But it's really telling that what he kept repeating is that had the police heeded his call and the calls of the other prisoners when they raised that alarm, then all of this could have been averted. And he kept repeating that even when he was attempting to quell the fire, had the police joined in then all of this might have been averted. That seemed to be chief among his concerns when he reflects on what transpired. But he's confident. He is confident we have, and I think it's really important to contextualize this. Now, Mr. Green has not gone far in school. He has indicated that he left school at third form and he attended Sophia Special School. And we have questioned Mr. Green from all conceivable angles, and Mr. Green has been quite consistent in the details of his narrative. He is not varied in any regard that is material or significant from his narrative. The only thing that he had mixed up was the names of one of the persons who was present with him when he was initially arrested, and the names of one of the persons in the cell. Well, the fellow who woke him up in the cell by throwing water on him. And I dare emphasize as well that Mr. Green does not seem to be out to tarnish the reputation of the police officers. Because if he were, one would imagine that he would have made damning allegations against the police officers as to any coarse treatment he received at the hands of the police officers. The extent to which he implicated the police officers was the tapping on the desk and the hits he received on his shoulder.
It has been hours since you both have met with your client, Clarence Green. We were surfing the net, our executive producer and others right here at 107.1 FM. We were surfing the net to probably see whether the police force would issue a statement to debunk what you guys are saying. Surprisingly, nothing at all. They're very, very quiet about this new revelation, this development, right? I don't know for what reason or why they're so quiet, but have you been able to speak with senior ranks who are investigating this matter with the hope of probably getting to see that so-called confession on the videotape?
We haven't had an opportunity as yet. We were working, since we've spoken with Mr. Green, we were working in several other collateral matters to Mr. Green's incident, and Mr. Green being in custody.
All right. 50 minutes after 9 o'clock. We don't want to hold these attorneys up for too long because, as you know, they can't say a lot other than what they have said. And then what they have said is more than a mouthful for all of you. And I'm watching, reading some of your comments, and I know you guys are in shock indeed. Is he fearful for his life? Has he indicated that to you guys?
He's not said that explicitly. And I don't get the impression that he is. Of course, he is concerned about these what he has instructed us to be false allegations leveled against him. And naturally, he does not want to be in that situation.
Well, I'm certain that no one wants to be in that situation of being wrongfully accused. According to your client, he's being wrongfully accused. He sat with you guys for hours, and he answered all of the questions posed to him. And I'm sure a lot of members, majority of members of this audience, people who are listening right now, would understand that the police probably try a thing, as we would say. Before we go, is there anything else that you want the general public to know, to hear about this particular case, what you both have discussed with your client, that is relevant to the public?
Anything, Ms. Jeffrey?
No, nothing from me, Mr. Benschop.
Mr. Daniels?
We'll take the opportunity to publicly thank the office in charge at the Sparndam police station, and that the officer was particularly kind and accommodating. And I know that police officers oftentimes come in for negative commentary, and I believe that once there is a positive show from the police officers, that they should be equally commended for that. So the office in charge of Sparndam Police Station and the staff on duty, when we visited, we want to take the opportunity to publicly commend them.
Before we go, I'm looking at some of the comments there, but it might be too early to ask this question. Nevertheless, I'll go ahead with it. Are you guys in touch with all the prisoners who were there, or just not yet?
We've not communicated with any of the other prisoners.
None whatsoever. All right, attorneys at law, Kiswana Jefford and Ronald Daniels, representing the law firm, no stranger to you guys, that law firm, Hughes, Fields, and Stobie. There was one other question. I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in from the folks, but I understand you guys are attorneys. There's only so much that you can answer. So, sorry, let me see here. Our executive producer has sent here, and this, please, for you both attorneys and our listening audience. Police press release. The Guyana Police Force would like to dismiss as malicious a recent fabrication being peddled on social media surrounding the confession statement given by Clarence Green, since the said confession was given on video. And it is clear that the suspect was under no form of duress at the time he explained to the police how he started the fire. One can only infer that these unsubstantiated attacks on the integrity and professionalism of ranks of the Guyana Police Force is nothing more than a cheap attempt to score political points. Hot off the press, the police press release. And they went on, and I'll finish it. As mentioned, over the weekend, the Guyana Police Force is sparing no effort as it continues the investigation into Saturday's devastating fire, which destroyed the Breakdown Police Station complex in Georgetown. Investigators are in possession of a confession on video from Clarence Green, an unemployed 26-year-old man. Well, MN, I'm certain that they meant male Negro. They're still using that, male Negro, MN, of Princess Street, again, they gone with Princess Street again, Lodge, who admitted to starting the fire. Over to you both, please.
We can only remain hopeful and optimistic that the investigations being carried out would by the police officers would be one that would be underscored by integrity, and not integrity that is unique to the police, but integrity in its proper sense. I think it's quite unfortunate that the suggestion would be made that this is an attempt to score cheap political points. I'm not sure why we're politicizing the detention of young Mr. Green, as what we've represented in the public space. So I'll unassure, of course, what we've represented here is exclusively what we've been instructed on. We've not seen the video that the police officers said they possessed of. I take it for granted at some time or the other that video would have to see the light of the day. And if the police is confident that they have evidence that contradicts Mr. Green's instructions to us, then the police would have to do what they have to do with that evidence and let justice take its proper course. But we've represented exclusively what our instructions are.
But well said, attorney. But any surprise here at all as to why would they say that the statement? Here it is that his lawyers have visited him, got a statement from him, interviewed him to get to the bottom of this situation, and the police force is actually saying that it is politically motivated. I just don't get it. Ms. Jefford, before you go, politically motivated?
Mr. Benschop, I could only re-emphasize what my colleague would have said to you. We are only acting upon our client's instructions, and it is our hope that the Guyana Police Force will carry out an investigation fairly and unbiased.
Well said. Mr. Ronald Daniels, closing remarks before we go.
We have no personal investment in any allegations leveled against Mr. Green. We have no personal investment in any instructions that Mr. Green has given to us. What we have is a professional responsibility that we are discharging within the confines of the ethics of our profession. So there's no political motivation here to misdirect the public. And as Ms. Jefford has re-emphasized, we're just hopeful that the police do the honorable thing and conduct a fair and impartial investigation.
Well said, both of you, attorneys from Hughes, Fields and Stobie Law Firm, Attorney Jefford and Attorney Daniels. Thank you both so much. Continue the great work, the non-political work, which is what you're doing, standing up against injustices. That is exactly what you're doing. God bless you both, and thank you all.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you ever so much, Mark.
Thank you. All right, now that they're gone, two brilliant young attorneys. I'm very impressed with them, but I want to talk. just for a couple minutes more before I go. The brazenness of the Guyana Police Force to issue that really ridiculous statement. And I can put my head on the block. I got $100 Guyana in my pocket. I can put my head on the block that statement came right out of Freedom House, straight out of Freedom House, because they are the ones who are being political. Now, here's the situation. These lawyers representing their law firm went to see their client. They interviewed their client. The client said X, Y, and Z about the questions asked. The client said, that is Mr. Green, that he signed a document under duress, that a videotape was made of him where the police is alleging that he confessed. Mr. Green is saying that he was forced to say certain things on that videotape because a senior officer, someone he recognized, had a baton and waving it at him and joking him on his shoulder. Come on. Come on. So far, I tell you guys this, that Mr. Green's story is by far more believable than the Jim Cock Bring Ram Goat story that the police force has just issued through their press release, maybe hot off the press from Freedom House. They are the ones who are being political. They are the ones who have allowed the politicians of this particular regime to use and abuse the Guyana Police Force. They are the ones. In fact, they should be ashamed to accuse others of being politically motivated. This is not about politics. This is about justice. This is about getting to the bottom of this situation so that if this young man, Mr. Clarence Green, is being wrongfully accused, that is why he has his lawyers to get to the bottom of this. Now, the Guyana Police Force wouldn't expect that they say that Mr. Green confessed to that crime and all John and Jane public should say, great job, Guyana's police force, and that's the end of it. And that this individual, this accused, the suspect, doesn't have a right to a lawyer. He has a constitutional right for a lawyer. In fact, he should have been given a phone call. In fact, he should not have been interrogated without the presence of a lawyer. And now, if he had his lawyer from day one, if he was granted a phone call from day one when he was accused, and his lawyers would have been there with him, I am quite sure all of you can agree with me that the outcome would have been different. We would not have been hearing any confession statement. We would not have been hearing anything about, oh, he made a videotape. Who are they fooling? Anybody can say anything on a videotape if they're under duress or they're being threatened and someone is joking them with a baton or whatever else. The young man was obviously intimidated. Look, the late Senator John McCain, when he was held as a political prisoner, a prisoner of war, for 5+ years, he said that when he was threatened, he was beaten, under duress, he said things, he admitted to things that he didn't really know of, that he didn't mean. All he wanted to do was for them to stop beating him or stop threatening him. Now, so help me God. This young man, Clarence Green, is no John McCain. He's no John McCain. He's a young man. And just imagine him having all those police officers surrounding him, threatening him, probably saying, "Why we gonna kill you? Why we gonna this? Why you know? Come on!" I know how a lot of those members of the Guyana Police Force operate. I'm not saying I'm going to paint all of them with the same brush, but I'll tell you guys this: I, for one, and I also know that most of you listening would agree with me that something is fishy about what the police want us to accept, and because we're not accepting it, guess what they're saying? That we are being political. Let's get back to their statement. I want to read it quickly again. I'm not going to read everything because I don't have an appetite for garbage. And this is worse than garbage. This press release from the police force. Hear what it is. It says, I'm sorry, I probably have to change my voice because this might have been written by Mark Ramutar or my friend Stan Govaya. Of course, they had to get political direction, right? Here is what it says. The Guyana police force would like to dismiss as malicious. Yeah, right. You know why it's malicious? Because it's exposing the Guyana police force. That's why it's malicious. But I'll continue. They say, a recent fabrication being peddled on social media. Now, let me remove this. This is no fabrication. These two lawyers, right? These two brilliant lawyers visited the young man, the suspect, visited him, spent almost 4 hours with their client. And because these lawyers are now saying exactly what was told to them by their client. And here it is, the police force is saying fabricated. A fabrication being peddled on social media surrounding the confession? Are you trying to insult these two young, intelligent lawyers that they sat there at the police station, at Sparendam police station, and fabricated this entire story for some sort of political reason? How dare you guys in the Guyana police force want to insult the integrity of those two lawyers just for doing their job, just for standing up against injustice? Because in John Public and Jane Public's opinion, it is an injustice. And they're trying to force this, my opinion, that they're trying to force this crime on that little boy. And now the little boy might have had brushes with the law. So, what does that mean? He was picked up for some sort of unknown crime. We don't know who the the victim is or whatever. 72 hours has expired. They haven't charged him. But for this major crime that they're investigating him for, 72 hours will expire shortly. There are two things that they can do. They can rush to charge him, take him before the court by tomorrow, 1 o'clock. They can do that. And probably right now, and I use back their term, they may be right now fabricating charges against that young man for political reason, because they have to satisfy their political bosses who have instructed them to possibly charge that young man. So if they charge him by tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock, he's going to appear in court. Now, they have no evidence. All they have against this young man is what they claim he confessed. How strong is this case? It is pretty obvious. Our lawyers this evening could probably attest to that. There may be other lawyers who are watching this program can attest to that. A mere confession under controversial circumstances is not sufficient for the police to win this case against that young man. But in the meanwhile, they want to put him in jail so that he can suffer, so that they can say to you, the public, that, hey, they have solved a crime, when in fact, they did not solve the crime. But look, this is no fabrication. I spoke with some officers, some former policemen, and you know what those former policemen have said to me? That they believe, actually, that they do not believe that that young man, that suspect, is guilty of anything he's being accused of. And here is the bombshell. And I want the police force to understand this. I am not fabricating this. Some of those former policemen are of the view that one or a serving member of the Guyana police force may have done that, and not that young man. Now, I don't know what the purpose of burning that entire station down for, but look, here it is. Wherever the room is where all the court documents are being kept, that may have been the target. And now look, the acting commissioner Hoppy and other political folks within the force, I am not fabricating this at all. I'm just not going to sit here and fabricate anything. There is no need for me to score political points. There's no need for those lawyers to score political points or fabricate anything. You know what? It shows more and more every minute of the day that the police force is guilty. Hear what they're guilty of: attempting to cover up this particular crime, attempting to take the people's attention in another direction and make this young man a scapegoat, when in fact they do not have sufficient evidence for this young man, Mr. Clarence Green, to be convicted in any court. So what they may want to do, lock him away in prison. But these lawyers are going to fight to ensure that it doesn't become a reality. And you know what? Forget about Mr. Green, what he did and these sort of things. We're not blind. To the Commissioner of Police acting, we're not blind. We see exactly what is happening. We see exactly what the intention of those, your political bosses, are. We already know what it is. You can't fool us. We're not stupid. All right, enough of that. But then again, before I go, look again, you know, these guys are really, really nuts. These police guys who issued a statement. They said the other part here, Clarence Green, the suspect, was under no form of duress. Are these people serious? They want us to believe that the police officers questioned this guy, give him a cup of coffee, give him a cigar, give him something, hug him, and say, oh man, talk to me now, right? They expect us to believe that? Huh? When the same police force, some of those same members at CID headquarters are known for torturing based on allegations leveled against them. Look at the Shaka Chase situation. Look at another young lady that was tortured. That's from Tiger Bay area. And it is the Chief Justice ruled in the High Court, the late Eon Chang, that Shaka Chase was subjected to torture at the hands of operatives of the state. So if I could break this phone up right now, I'll do just that. Because look at this nonsense coming from the police force. I'll have to do some sort of live tomorrow morning. I am all worked up. I shouldn't be worked up because it's the guy in the police force, right? We know what they are about, covering up for their political bosses. To these two young, intelligent attorneys at law, I thank them so much for coming on this evening. I wish them all the best in this case. And I'll say this, and I know you all will agree with me, that they have a darn good case to win. Watch what the police are going to do. They're going to rush to have this young man appear in front of the court tomorrow, by maybe before midday. If they don't do that, they're going to continue to play the politics. They may go to the court to ask for an extension of the 72 hours to make this thing look a little nice-ish, to ask for an extension in order to pretend as though they are doing some sort of investigation, when in fact they are not doing any investigations. How the heck can you do investigations when you already bulldozed the entire goddamn crime scene? We're not stupid. We're not foolish people at all. Look, with that said, I've got to go. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Thank you all so much. May God bless you, and may God bless our beautiful country, man. The guy in the police force, God bless y'all too. Y'all need a lot of God blessing. So long.
That little ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got busty rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea, and the river, great, wide, and deep in our lives would we be. Onward, upward may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. Born in the land of Kaijur, shining splendor, land of the palm tree, the croton and fern, we would possess all the virtues and graces, we all the glory of goodness would learn. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana's sons and daughters can be. The ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got busty rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea, and the river, great, wide